that long, but it's a chance for you guys to ask questions that you may.
So very short start.
Okay, good. And so the WebEx people are all
there.
All there? Okay. So I hope all you folks can hear me remotely as well as the people here in front of me. I'm David Lyman, and I'll be the lead facilitator for our weekend retreat in Bandera. I like to have these pre-retreat meetings because what we'll do, the format of what we do, is unusual enough that people sometimes aren't entirely comfortable with it if they just suddenly jump into it. So I like to break the ice with it at least as much as possible. And normally this pre-retreat meeting isn't quite so far from the retreat itself. Normally we have Friday before the retreat, but spring break and then I'll be gone. So I'm sorry that we had that so much earlier. I'm not doing much to do. But first, a little bit of context about the retreat format itself. This is the Great Teaching Seminar is what it's called, and there are many versions of a lot of kinds of teaching retreats, and there are different versions of this. But this one started with Roger Garrison and David Gottschall in about 1969. And there are certain premises, certain principles, which if you hear in the room you have in front of you, and you'll have at the retreat a lot of this. I'll be going back over also. But the idea is that the basic fundamental principle is that teachers know best about what teachers need to know to do. And so we meet and we help ourselves. We don't need keynoters. We don't need experts. We can do it ourselves. So for over 40 years, there have been various versions of these retreats. Some are weekend retreats like ours. Some are 3 or 4 days. The original ones were 2 weeks long. That may be a bit much. But so there are versions of these all over the country, all over the world, I suppose, but certainly all over the country. Many institutions have some version of this process based on these principles. There are regional, there are statewide versions of this in various places. California has one, for example. And then there's one designated as a national Great Teaching Seminar, and that's on the Big Island in Hawaii. And David Gottschall, who helped originate this, is still leading some of these around the country. He always helps lead the one in July every August. And a little bit about me, I found it valuable to give you some sense of why I'm doing what I'm doing. I had been lucky enough to be involved in the retreats for about 20 years. And I have, in fact, I originated the original teaching retreat at ACC in the mid-90s. It was done every year for about 8 years, and then for various reasons, we stopped doing it. They made us stop doing it. So we had a break of about 5 or 6 years, but we've been doing it now every year for the last 4 or 5, I believe, and apparently we'll continue. So I've been helping to organize and lead that. For 5 years, I led the statewide Great Teaching Roundup, sponsored now. It's under the leadership of the Texas Community College Teachers Association. I've helped facilitate several other of these around the state in California, for example, Illinois. And I was lucky enough to be involved, to attend the national retreat in Hawaii and then be invited back the next year as a guest facilitator. So I've been doing these for a while, and I'm not unbiased about how well they work. My hope is that when we finish the weekend in Bandera, you'll go home thinking that is the best professional development I have ever done in my life. Many people think that, and maybe you'll be one. So we'll spend the weekend together. We will have an agenda. But the agenda is what we call a minimal rigid structure. We'll have specific times that we do try to stay on those times as much as possible, but we can adjust those if we want to often. But it may just say 9 o'clock meeting. May say we'll meet. What we'll do depends. So the basic process is beginning Friday afternoon about 3 o'clock. We have a small group session. We have a large group meeting to get us oriented first, and a small group session. A large group meeting that Friday night, a couple of other small group sessions Saturday morning. Get started. In those small group sessions, you're sharing with each other the success and challenge papers that we've asked you to prepare. And the makeup of each small group will be different. You'll have some overlap. So even if you share your success more than once, it will be mainly with a different group of people. And the facilitator's main job for that, so the first set of small group discussions is to listen. We'll be taking notes. And we'll meet about midday on Saturday, probably while you guys are having lunch. And we'll compare notes and make a list of topics that seem to have bubbled up more than one time, topics that seem to be especially important. We'll write those down. You'll come into the room and you'll see what we have looked at. And you get to talk about it, add new topics, take some off, consolidate, and then you will vote as a group on which of those topics to devote the remaining small group discussions. So for a little bit of Saturday and the small groups sessions on Sunday, you will have determined what those topics are with our we do go until 8:30, 9 o'clock usually on both Friday and Saturday night, where we all meet together and we have large group activities. There are some things that I've planned for us to do. Those are always flexible. There'll be other things that when we get to Bandera, I'll ask you to be thinking about, and then some of you may do some presentations or activities at those evening large groups. One of the primary principles of this is free time. You know, sometimes the best times are the in-between times. So we have a several-hour chunk of time Saturday afternoon that is free time. And you didn't really, at about 2 o'clock or so, we'll dismiss you. You didn't really have to be back, and if you didn't mind missing dinner. So we really have to be back until about 7 o'clock for our Saturday evening large group session. So Friday and Saturday after the large group session, we always have what we call a social hour. We'll have snacks and drinks there. You'll come to the cabin of the facilitator. You don't have to, of course. And you can have informal talk and snacks and drink for really as late as you want to. And sometimes those are the most valuable times. As you know, the costs are all covered for the weekend, with one exception. We do ask that if you're able to, you donate $5 if you're not going to drink alcohol, $10 if you are, because college money can't be used for food and alcohol, of course. And one thing Christina has in the back of this room, if you're remote, I guess you can email us or tell us now or something. We'll take a list of snack requests. We go to the grocery store before the weekend, and we'll buy a lot of stuff to have during our social hour. So the weekend is pretty booked. Some are organized activities, some will be entirely up to all of them. So that's the way the weekend evolves. There are some premises, as I say, in which this approach is based. And if you you have in front of you the purposes and premises of the Great Teaching Retreat. You'll have these in a notebook when you get to Bandera. If you're with us remotely, you don't have these in front of you, but they're not very long. I'll be highlighted. I'd just like to review these. So first of all, the purposes, to celebrate what we do, to celebrate good things. Also to encourage us to encourage teachers to venture beyond our own environments and to study ideas which we can use, which can be transferred, even from those in other disciplines, even from those who may be inexperienced teachers to those of us who are experienced teachers. I learn things every time I do this. I learn great teaching ideas every time. So one purpose is to get us to go beyond our daily places where we do our daily things. In terms of location, we always like to choose a place. And Bandera has been our place now for a while, which is close enough to be fairly accessible, but far enough away that you're not tempted to go beyond. Far enough away that you're really out of your normal daily environment. Used to, we would say to get away from the phone. Well, that doesn't happen. I understand that. But to minimize contact with what we do every day, to get us into a different, and it's a very nice place. We'll eat 3 square meals a day, which I'm not used to. So we'll be eating and talking all semester or all weekend. But we're talking about teaching. How often you get a chance to spend a weekend talking to teachers about teaching, and that's all you talk about, or the core of it. So another purpose is to promote our introspection and our own self-appraisal by providing a climate for this kind of review. And what it says here is providing a climate for serious review, and we will be serious, but it's not solemn. It's not solemn. I think you'll have a great time. The fourth purpose is to practice rational analysis. Carefully consider what we do and to develop approaches that are realistic. One of the great benefits of this retreat is that you're gathering ideas that you can use Monday when you get back to class, maybe Tuesday. And then the final purpose, and these are formal purposes stated by the people who begin this program. I'm not making them, is to stimulate the exchange among teachers by expanding our own network, by expanding our contacts. There are always people who meet at the retreat who remain friends for years afterwards, whether at the same campus or not. And that's the advantage of an institution-focused retreat as opposed to one drawing from all over the state or all over the world. The national seminar in Hawaii has about 75 participants, half of whom are from Asia. I mean, it's a wonderful mix. But the advantage here is that they all go back to the same institution, not the same campus, and that's kind of a nice. So those are the purposes. There are several premises on which we base it. Teachers learn best from one another. As Freya Sarah says, carefully facilitated workshops can be the best form of professional development. So these are carefully facilitated. We're not casual, we're not careless about the way we put this together. The viewers, but we're formal and organized. But we learn best from one another. Another premise. Creativity in planning or teaching is enhanced by mixing teachers of diverse fields, experience levels, and interests. I know you may think you don't have anything to learn from the welding teacher, but you do. I promise that you do. I know you may think that I'm a teacher for 30 years. What do I have to learn from a brand new teacher? You might be surprised what you have to learn from that person. So the group that will be together in Bandera, we have 25 participants, well, 5 facilitators too, and that is more diversity than the 25 participants representing 18 teaching disciplines. And the years of teaching experience among those 25 people ranges from 1 year. We have to think 2 people who taught 1 year, I guess that means this is their first year, and 1 person has taught 2 years, up to someone with 57 years of teaching experience. Imagine the cumulative knowledge among those people. Another premise, that the collective wisdom, experience, and creativity of any group of us as teachers is far better than that of any individual expert. No keynote speakers. We refuse to have keynote speakers. We can do this ourselves. So experts are not welcome. And see, that's somewhat unusual for a conference. And that's what sometimes people have to get adjusted to. That is, the self-direction is a good thing, but it is an unusual thing. And quite a few people initially are to some degree uncomfortable with that too. You'll quickly get comfortable with it. And the key to success in teaching is simplification. Not simplistic, but simple. Less is more. In our talk, we strip the teaching down to its bare bones and talk about the essence of what we do. So purposes and some premise. There are also a few commandments, as the founders of this movement called them. It's not a time to gripe. You keep the war stories to a minimum. The easiest thing in the world is to gripe and complain. And we all do it sometimes, but that's not the focus of this week. Constructive feedback is free. We're all friends here. So when we give each other feedback, it's always done courteous, civil, and with the best intention. And it's encouraged to do that. That's how we learn. It's a time to share is another commandment. It's a time to share. So we're not going to make you be a public speaker, but we expect you to listen, but also to contribute as you're able. Another commandment is that everybody gets equal time, and everybody's conscious of the time limit, both in the smaller groups and the large groups that will be participated in. You want everybody to have their time. When you're sharing your success in challenge papers, for example, if there's 6 of you in a group, and there's a facilitator in each group, and part of that person's responsibility is to be sure that everybody has had a chance to share in the time designated for that session. The final commandment is that everybody is responsible for enforcing this other commandment. So everybody has a place in assuring that everybody has time. Everybody's been listened to. No one dominates to the exclusion of other people. People are, you know how teachers can be. So everybody has some level of responsibility in being sure that everyone is able to participate and share. Let's see. General, before I do anything, that's the heart of what I have to say. And I'll be saying it again when we first meet in Bandera, but as I say, people feel comfortable often knowing some of this ahead of time about what to expect. So let me, before I say anything else, nothing else I have to say as essential as what I just said, the rest is exercise. Questions or observations? And those in the room or the equal number of you remotely. Ask me anything. Welcome. Bandera, it's hard to describe. It's about 2 hours. I think Christina, if she hasn't already, will provide a map on how to get there. Yeah, it's kind of west northwest of San Antonio. Bandera, this is a flying L. It's a, for back, it's lack of a better term, a food ranch. It's a little resort thing. So you've got a main building with a cafe and meeting rooms and the check-in desk, and you have then various kinds of little villas and cabins that we'll be using. And it's a short walk from those to the big building or the central building where we'll have our meeting. Very pleasant place. Golf course, tennis courts, horseback riding. And the horseback riding costs money, of course, that would be extra, but a number of people like to do that during their free time on Saturday. They sign up Friday evening, you know, or maybe Saturday morning. They have somebody take you out on a horseback. And normally our Saturday, if the weather permits, our Saturday evening meal they normally take us down by the river, which is very pleasant. It's got any water in it. It's a very pleasant little cookout kind of thing. So it's a very nice place, but that's about 2 hours from here, just west of St. Questions? Other questions about facilities or about the process?
It says this is included in that space, so if any gives a number, it's a call. So
I don't know anything about the putt-putt golf, except how to play it. I've never actually played it at this point. But it doesn't. Tennis, the golf, the putt-putt golf, they're all included. You might check it out. So actually, that reminds me, bring your tennis rackets and tennis balls if you want. Bring anything like that you want, and you'll be able to take advantage of it. Only the regular golf and the horseback riding, I think, costs you money. There is a little water park behind that's mainly kids, but anybody goes to it. I guess that costs more money too, I'm not thinking. Or is it? Yeah, I don't know. You probably won't have too much time for water park activity. But you might on Saturday.
Well, before, what kind of state
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
For the golf. So what
probably you mean for the regular 9 or 18 holes. It'd probably be a good idea to bring your own clubs. They may have some there to rent. I don't know, but of course they wouldn't be your club. Yeah. Jerry?
Questions on sharing. What are the room arrangements?
You mean single or shared, or I'm not sure what. I have marginal. I have only some students with the room arrangement personally. Christina, Courtney, I guess. I'll do some initial matching up. So usually you have shared rooms if they're in a little cabin, but there are a number of individual rooms too. And that depends on which buildings we're using, and we don't always use the same buildings, and I'm not always familiar with the layout of individual buildings. But I'll make some initial room occupancy attempts, and then they can be adjusted by Courtney and Christine, I guess. Is that the kind of information she was wanting for that? Yes. And they're pleasant rooms, they're pleasant places. They all have their own bathrooms. There's not some common dorm like setup. I'm sorry? If you have a roommate preference, that's a good idea. Yes, you can. If you know that a friend of yours, part of what we try to do is mix everybody up. So if you have 2 colleagues from the same department, unless you ask otherwise, I may purposely put 2 psych teachers, with other people rather than with themselves. But if you want a room together, that's fine. Other questions? Y'all have any questions? Linda, question? Yeah. Missing any questions? Yeah. And of course, that's right, you make new people. And I'm remiss for not thinking about this a minute ago. To my left in the room is Missy Patterson, who is in the near future about to assume the responsibilities of the newly created Assistant Dean of Faculty Development at ACC. And she's been a participant and a guest facilitator at this retreat in the past, and she'll be coming this time to Bandera in part in her soon-to-be role as Faculty Development Boss. So it's good to be the boss.
Actually,
All right.
you ever said that? How many floors?
25. Yeah, we could do more, but we, cost and rent. So we have 25 participants and 5 facilities.
Okay. And in terms of practices, we have done, do you have an idea of their full-time time?
I know exactly. We have 7 full-time and 19 adjunct faculty, which is almost always about the proportion. And that's a good point. I mean, one thing that you discover in this retreat is if you ever know it at all, the employment status of full-time or adjunct disappears. Often you don't even know it. Usually you don't even know it. But if you find out somehow, you know, this doesn't matter. But one thing I personally like about this is that it's available equally to full-time and adjunct. I kind of like the fact that we almost always have 2/3 adjunct and the rest are full-time. So.
In terms of getting certificates, a lot of times I won't wait there.
Yeah, when you come, you go check into the central building, and they will know what room you have then, and it'll be like any hotel. They'll give you the room key, a few instructions about facilities or whatever, and a little map, and they're all very close. So you could go park near your cabin and check in and unpack your bags and that kind of thing. In anticipation of what is often a question about the accessibility of wireless Wi-Fi, I believe it's still the case that internet is available only in the central building, where the lobby, check-in, the cafe, and the meeting room are. That used to be the case, and I'm not sure now if in your room, for example, you can get internet. Courtney, do you happen to know? I'm asking Courtney, who works for the Faculty Development Office, why I'm asking. So there is internet. It may not be accessible at every part of the system. Mentioned, okay. If you're a note taker on the laptop, if that's what you have become comfortable with, sure. Just like our students, more and more people are becoming comfortable. I'm not one of them, but more and more people are becoming comfortable taking notes electronically. Absolutely. As you'll have a notebook with a few things that including papers to take notes on, but absolutely bring it to electronic. Sorry? Yeah. I think only the meeting rooms, the common areas in the central building have Wi-Fi. Now, before I forget to do so, a couple of things that you might want to bring with you. If you have a musical instrument, bring it. If you have a guitar or something and you want to play it later when we're doing our social time in the middle to later evening, that's great. We'll have a sing-along. And the next one's important. Please bring a book with you that you consider to have been important to you as a teacher. It doesn't have to be a book on teaching. In fact, most of them aren't. But somehow a book to you that has been influential in your teaching. Some people bring more than one, but I'm thinking of one book per person. And we'll lay them out on the table in the common area. So as people are milling about, they can see who brought what book and see the variety of books that people think are important to them. There are novels, there are everything possible. And then as time allows, we'll have time where people can take their book and hold it up and very briefly say, this is why this book is important to me. And that's always a lot of fun to me. And then Christina will compile a list of those books, and part of what she'll send you to everybody's email afterwards, after the retreat, is a list of all those books that people have brought that were influential. And that's what you normally do. Christina has joined us, and then a couple of peculiar strangers, in fact. Yes, sir.
Was this in for the most part, you have an active closing all through the week? And what's prepared
Not really. And we've asked you to prepare the success and challenge papers. Beyond that, there's really nothing specific you need to prepare. Be thinking about these things, about what's important to you as a teacher and things you might want to share, but that's still very informal, and that's all you need to worry about. Oh, in anticipation of what people in Christina's announcement may have said that dress casual, shorts and jeans, shorts and sandals and t-shirts. This is comfortable. We want y'all to do that. Yeah, if we're lucky, it'll be, yeah, that's right. Let's see. Try to arrive Friday if you can. I know this is difficult. And we'll work with it regardless. About 2:30, our first small group is normally at 3, I believe. We have a large group to kind of get everybody's head straight, and then we'll have a small group. So we usually start about 3 o'clock. Now there are people who would be there later, and that's fine. We'll catch you up.
We'll send another announcement out after this meeting. I'm going to culminate all of the details. I'll send another email out to everybody, including the ones who are online and the ones who are here, just to let them know. And also, some tips on driving out there. There's a couple of different routes, and some are better than others. And it's all really but it does take a significant amount of time to drive out there, so it's not like a 30-minute drive. So definitely budgeting in extra time to stop, depending on which route you take. Good, but I'll have a couple of routes suggested. Also reminders about the book, and the casual dressing, musical instruments, and all of those good things. So I'll be sending another follow-up out after.
Now, Christine and her staff are excellent about keeping you up with things, by communicating with you. And all the little details like that I've mentioned, bring the book and all this stuff, Christina will remind you of electronically in the future. We still have a couple of weeks before we go.
I came from the Capitol. I was with our leadership staff, which is another opportunity to college officers. So if you're interested in private tutors doing that, and so for the late cases, I definitely
Yeah, so those of you in line, Christina Mature, who's the manager of faculty development and who does all the hard work, all the logistical organization and bill pay work through her office, has arrived, and she'll be also with us the weekend. So other questions, anything at all? If you've heard this now, I can apologize in advance. You'll hear it again when we first get together in Bandera, but that's better twice than none.
What time does you finish on Sunday?
Oh, good question. We finish on Sunday, about 1:30 on Sunday. Because we're working pretty hard. I mean, we're hitting it, as I say, into the evening, Friday and Saturday, and even Sunday morning is, small group discussions and other culminating activities and a group picture and everything we'll take. So, about 1:30 Sunday afternoon. It's great work. You'll be tired but exhilarated, I believe in you. So other questions? I'm looking at you guys, but imagine me looking at you electronically. So what you think? Sound all right? It's great fun, man. I can't wait. It's always great.
Nothing more exciting talking ideas with people who do the people that do what you do with. Get on the common ground, that even though we all say every campus is different, even the time of day feels different students, different kind of dynamics. So it's just really, I think, such a fun opportunity to come together, really talk about your craft, what you do every day on a day-to-day basis, your people, your students, teaching in general. I just think it's such a rich opportunity for. So I
Thank you,
think
Courtney.
it's great for the college.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. So, what's your next question? Yes, yes. Oh, I'm glad you mentioned carpools. I haven't gotten here, but I haven't mentioned it yet. Christina would, I guess, be the clearinghouse for that. If you wanted to, Christina has everyone's email, for example. So what should they do, Christina, if they wanted to set up a carpool? Contact you.
Confirmations, and we've got quite a few confirmations back already. And I'll reveal, if they just want to put the whole email list out there, some people didn't go, suddenly they keep getting on and so once we get all the confirmations, I think that deadline is the 17th of May after spring break. Then I'll send a general email out to everybody that's just labeled carpool. You can reply back to that. And that way you guys can communicate with each other and say, hey, I'm interested, I'm in Cedar Park, or I'm in Austin Gaffney, South Austin. So that's the way the national security group is organized carpool. Come in and say, like, yeah, I can take 4, or, I can take another 1 or 2. And so some folks really do need to start school. That's another time for discussion and getting notes and such. But it's not enough opportunity to start to get to know about. Especially other faculty from different areas. And so I'll send that out after spring break and we'll get all the comments.
If I can repeat, those of you online may not be able to hear Christina because 2 microphones are up there. The deadline for confirmation acceptance is Monday the 17th. After that day, Christina will send out emails to everybody who will be there, and that can start the process. You'll have everybody's email. That can start the process if you want to, trying to get the carpool together. That'll allow you to talk to everybody and figure those kind of things out.
And then the last thing I see is the horseback riding. If you're interested, I'll put that out in the email that I sent out recently. Definitely let me know if it's a special ride just for us, so we don't have to ride with other patrons at the sport.
We don't want to ride with any other non. Ride a horse with non-patrons, I can't do it.
Yeah, it is an extra expense, but it's not a lot of extra expense. I can't remember exactly.
So they should contact you first.
Yeah.
Okay. If you want to do a horseback ride, email Christina and she can help set that up.
Email me and then there's forms that check in, all that good stuff. And then the next note that we go about.
I mentioned it briefly, but let me mention it again.
Email us.
That's right. You can email us here. You can sign up. But if you have any snack, beverage requests, let us know. Alcoholic beverages included. And with that in mind, remember the only expense really, unless you ride the horse, the only expense is we ask for a donation to help balance the cost of the snacks and drinks. $5 if you don't drink alcohol, $10 if you do. And you don't need to do that ahead of time. There's no urgency. We can collect all that gradually over the course of the weekend itself. But if you have particular snack requests, just let us know. And when I go shopping, I'll try to get everything. I'll get you whatever HEB has to pay. So once you want it as an HEB, you're in luck. Other than that, I can't. So questions? What's the plot? Oh, okay. So I'm not rushing off to any place. If people have any questions, ask me anything. If not, thank you. I do appreciate it. I look forward to the weekend. It'll be great fun. I think it'll be great. And those of you who logged in remotely, thank you very much for doing so. Thank you, Jerry.